by fostering dialogues such as this one. So that's why, again, we're so excited to be here today. I'd like to, just say a huge thank you to the Asset team, those who have worked to pull this all together, as well as to my colleagues who are here today from Mastercard Foundation, Myra and Caroline. And we're just looking forward, as Mavis said, to hearing from you about what this means for you, about what should be done, what could be done differently to ensure that you're able to fully leverage this platform. And for the policymakers and others who are here today, we look forward to learning more about some of the policies that might be able to support youth-led businesses within AfCFTA. So again, very excited, and we look forward to hearing from you.
Amazing work. Thank you very much, Eunice, for that as well. Ladies and gentlemen, I love the after so much that at the first hearing of it, where I think at that time I was doing my first master's, I had a different idea, completely different idea for my thesis. But the moment I heard about the Continental Free Trade Agreement, I immediately switched and did my thesis on after. That's how much I love the Continental Free Trade Area and how much I believe in its power and potential. And I'm hoping that at the end of today's conversation, I would see some more actionable steps going forward. And so thank you so much to Asad and the Mastercard Foundation for putting this together. I believe we're going to head straight into the first session, where we're going to tackle trade challenges faced by youth-led businesses. If you give me an entire day, I will talk about them. But of course, we have youth panel members who are going to be having this particular conversation. I'll go ahead and read their bios. I'll introduce them one after the other, and just so we can take it from there. Ladies and gentlemen, we have Benjamin Chefu, if I got the name right. Pardon me if I'm unable to pronounce the name properly, but just correct me. So we have Benjamin Chefu. He's an entrepreneur with 6 years of experience in banking, software development, and venture capital. He co-founded the Bank Capital, an Afrocentric payment solution focused on providing tailored credit models to unbanked communities in Africa. Benjamin is also actively involved in organizations like the South African FinTech Association, the Africa BRICS Women Platform, and ASO under the African Union. Benjamin Chefu, if you're here, please say hi so we can confirm that you're here.
Hi, everyone. Hope everyone can hear me. Am I audible enough?
Awesome. You're loud and clear, Benjamin. Ladies and gentlemen, we also have Dr. Mulungita Gebremariam Tadele, if I got the name right. Pardon me if I didn't get it right. I'll do my best in our next session. He's a dedicated physician, public health expert, and entrepreneur who founded Better Life Home-Based Healthcare in 2022 to address gaps in home-based care in Addis Ababa. His startup has treated over 1,000 patients, contributing significantly to healthcare reform in Ethiopia. In 2023, Better Life won a prestigious incubation program from the Mastercard Foundation in Zub Addis, further expanding its services across the city. Dr. Mulungita, if you're here, please say hello to us. Let's confirm that you're loud and clear. Hello, Doc. Are you here? Can you hear me? Hello, Doc. Looks like we have a challenge here from Doc, but I'm just going to go ahead and introduce the next panel member while we get Doc to resolve his technical challenge. Ladies and gentlemen, we also have with us Precious Difiri. So Precious is a social entrepreneur and founder of Awawo Hashtag, a handcraft and lifestyle brand based in Longwe, Malawi. As a YE advisor to the International Trade Center, he empowers youth entrepreneurs to build scalable and sustainable businesses. He's also a strong advocate for youth entrepreneurship and regional integration, serving as the LCOYACA country champion in Malawi and speaking on platforms to promote the youth voice in trade, particularly in relation to AfCFTA. Precious, if you're here, please say hello to us.
Hello, hello everyone. Good afternoon from Lilongwe.
Good afternoon, Precious, and thank you so much for joining us. So, ladies and gentlemen, these are our panelists for the youth-led panel discussion. Wilfred, would you want me to take it away, or you want to jump in at this point?
Yeah, go ahead. Let me just say it in French. Donc, là, nous abordons la session, la toute première session, qui a pour objectif de comprendre les challenges auxquels font face les jeunes entrepreneurs lorsqu'ils veulent exporter au-delà de leurs frontières nationales. Donc, nous avons sur ce panel plusieurs intervenants. Je ne vais plus revenir sur leur bio. Karim l'a déjà fait. Nous allons juste les écouter. Soyons attentifs pendant qu'ils partagent leurs expériences avec nous sur comment est-ce qu'ils se sont pris jusqu'ici et quels sont les défis et challenges qu'ils ont rencontrés alors qu'ils ont essayé d'exporter au-delà, d'envoyer le marché au-delà des frontières. Over to you, Karim.
All right, Wilfred, thank you very much. Really appreciate that. Let me jump straight into the questions, and I would like to start with you, Benjamin, obviously, for obvious reasons. So, Benjamin, trade and challenges faced by youth-led businesses, and we're trying to take more of experiences from young entrepreneurs, which you happen to be one. And one of the key questions that I want to throw to you is that what are the main trade-related challenges you have encountered when trying to expand your business across African borders? Benjamin, are you there?
Hi, Karim, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear. Did you get my question?
Yeah, so I struggled to get your question because I think there's an interpreter and
Okay.
yeah, there's a bit loud on my side. I don't know how to deal with that.
So let me take that. Let me take that again.
Okay.
Awesome. So I'm asking that now in your bid to expand your business, across Africa, into, other countries beyond the borders of your country, what have been some of the main trade-related challenges that you have faced as a young entrepreneur?
100%. No, thank you for that question. So with us initially as Bank Capital, one of the biggest challenges that we have faced might have been regulation from different countries, and that being one of the biggest, or rather one of the stumbling blocks that pushed us back. But indeed, I think one of the lessons and challenges, looking generally at the AfCFTA, our goal, or rather what we've noticed, and I'm really tackling back from the point that was raised by the CEO of Asset, that maybe we should stop talking and look into really actionable solutions that we can put into place. And one of the things that we actually looked into was how best could those challenges be solutioned, or rather solved, by, instead of focusing on the African free trade, we look into the intra-regional trade, looking into 5 different regions that we have. Because if you look at the regional setups, the challenges per countries or in those regions are somewhat almost related. So our focus has been that, but the biggest issue for us has been regulations that are not harmonized in relations to what the AfCFTA stand for.
All right, awesome. Thank you very much for that, Benjamin. Precious, my concern would then be, we realize that the plethora of challenges, that we can touch on as far as entrepreneurship within Africa is concerned, especially for young entrepreneurs. You have issues such as limited access to finance, loans, grants, seed funds, even logistical challenges, I think. How have these, including complex regulations, impacted your ability to scale your business? So Precious, this for you. So basically, how have, limited access to financing, logistics, complex regulations set by your country and other African countries affected your ability to scale your business? Do we have Precious? Great.
Hi, thank you for the question. So I lead a company that is in handcraft and lifestyle products. So these are, more or less of wooden products, bamboo products, and lily craft products, to put it shortly. So I think some of the things that you mentioned, limited access to finance, logistical challenges. Firstly, on logistical challenges, Malawi is a land-linked country. We are not closer to the sea, and that poses even more challenges. So instead, what we do is we use trucks and some railways that are here. And one of the things key in that is logistical challenges have been lead to increased costs and delivery time. We currently are exporting to South Africa, Greece, and USA, and that has come out regularly, that delivery times from here to the sea, the closest sea here is Beira in Mozambique, and so our customers are always complaining about that, and we've had issues around that area. And another thing, regulation. I think regulations are expensive, both in time and resources, because we have to compile a very long list of documentation. So these include packing lists, certificate of origin, and just regulations in the industry that I operate in, all this is also about this is a challenge we have to, and some of the costs we can share them with the buyers out there. So I think those are some of the challenges that around that area.
Thank you for that. At this point, of course, I'll hand over to my brother Wilfred to take us through the next round of questions.
Okay. Thank you, Karim. Thank you. Very insightful point. Merci, Precious, pour ces expériences partagées. Il nous donne de réaliser vraiment qu'il y a des challenges lorsqu'on veut se lancer dans le commerce transfrontalier. Donc, la prochaine question, je vais l'adresser à Nalongo. J'espère que Nalongo est là. Nalongo Shuti. Nalongo, est-ce que vous pourriez nous partager quelques exemples concrets de la manière dont vous avez essayé de vous y prendre avec les procédures douanières? Nous avons entendu de Precious qui viennent parler là, par exemple, des challenges qu'il a eu avec la réglementation, la documentation, et ainsi de suite. Vous, comment est-ce que vous vous êtes pris jusqu'ici avec les procédures douanières et puis la logistique? Quels sont les obstacles que vous avez rencontrés et comment est-ce que vous en êtes sortis? Est-ce que vous pouvez vous en dire un mot? Nalongo?
So thank you. I can hear you, but I'm not an entrepreneur. So not,
Okay.
at least I'm not, because I'm not youth, I'm of youth,
Okay.
and I'm not an entrepreneur.
Okay.
I can speak more to what is happening on the AfCFTA and what Mavis said, how do we realize it in practice is really what I'm best at. So I'll hand over to someone else. Thank you.
Okay, good. Okay, that's fine, Nalongo. Alors, peut-être on va demander à Benjamin Samoa, est-ce que vous avez eu à essayer d'exporter une marchandise, de faire passer vos produits par les frontières? Est-ce que vous avez eu des challenges? Comment ça s'est passé? Comment est-ce que vous êtes pris? Benjamin?
Hi. So I didn't. So I'm not an entrepreneur either. But I had I'm actually not a French speaker, but I understood the French, and I so because I'm a banker, I haven't really exported or done any intertrade, so I'm not able to comment on that. But I'm speaking purely from a financial institution perspective.
Ok. Bien, dans ce cas, peut-être on va réécouter Precious, voilà, qui a une expérience concrète de terrain en matière d'exportation. Donc, face au challenge que vous avez rencontré jusqu'ici, Precious, est-ce que il y a des solutions, du moins, comment est-ce que vous vous êtes pris pour essayer de vous en sortir face aux défis que vous avez rencontrés jusqu'ici? Vous avez fait par des défis, mais j'imagine que vous avez pu quand même faire une expédition. Quelles sont les possibilités que vous avez exploitées lorsque vous avez fait face à ces difficultés?
Sorry, I am unable to get the translator.
Okay. So the question, Precious, was based on the challenge that you faced when you were trying to export. I also saw that you are a member of the YE community helping other traders. So I wanted to know what are the solution? How did you finally thrive in face of these difficulties, in face of these challenges? I think that having tried to export, you have been able to send your goods abroad. So with the challenges that you face, how finally did you manage to send your goods?
Okay, thank you for that. Well, I think first thing we have to make sure that I sat down with my team to draft a new direction for our business. So I would, I always encourage my fellow youth that if you're operating domestically, for you to operate internationally, now you have to set and that we can use learn from on this journey now, the new strategy. So for instance, in Malawi, we have Malawi Investment and Trade Center, which oversees investment and exports. So I started attending trainings to do with export, the AfCFTA and trade-related information. But I also had to utilize the AfriXim Bank. They have courses. The International Trade Center have courses on that as well. But also more now, when we were ready to start, we looked at crucial things such as our capacity, the capacity to which we can export. So for instance, if we are exporting, if we are producing 10 chairs in a week, and the customer wants 200 chairs or 100 chairs, how can we meet that demand? So we started addressing those demands. So what we've done is we started working with artisans who are crafting those products, and then calling the artisans, and also and we import those artisans with skills, quality. We looked at quality, but we also looked at regulating bodies on what they want. So with that, for us to export bamboo and furniture, Interiors, we needed to get and I would say a forestry certificate. So we had to go and get the export certificate. And every time we're exporting, we have to get an export permit. And that's what we've done little by little. But I think first things first, we had to have our little strategy, and then start following up that. Talking about that, and then continue. It's a continuous learning process.
Mhm. OK, merci bien, Precious. J'ai relevé dans votre propos la nécessité d'être informé sur les formalités, les procédures, de se former aussi, de se former, et nous sommes heureux d'avoir ce cadre qui est aussi un cadre de renforcement de capacités, partageant nos expériences avec les autres entrepreneurs sur le terrain. Donc, je vais repasser la parole à Karim pour la suite des questions. Donc, on a la prochaine session. Karim?
All right, yes, I'm here with you, Wilfred, and thank you very much for that. Do we have Dr. Mulungita with us? Doctor, please confirm if you're here with us. If you're not, what I'm going to do now would be to quickly zoom to the open floor discussion, where we can also get the take from policy makers and experts that we have with us this morning. So let me quickly introduce our policy makers. Who are here. We have Dr. Benjamin Asante. Of course, the name clearly tells where he's from. He's from Ghana, the gateway to Africa. So Dr. Benjamin Asante Asamoah is the Vice President and Head of Debt and Trade Business Banking, with extensive experience in the financial services industry. He's skilled in teamwork, business relationship management, strategy, and financial analysis. He holds a Bachelor of Arts in Economics and French from the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology in Kumasi. We also have Nalongo Nshuti Laki Mbabazi. Nshuti leads Africa advocacy and partnerships at the UN Better Than Cash Alliance, focusing on accelerating digital payments for financial inclusion across the continent. And previously, she held leadership roles at EcoBank, Visa Incorporated, and the Rwanda Development Board, overseeing payment solutions and policy advising. Nshuti is also a champion for girls in STEM and youth leadership, with a master's in public policy from Harvard Kennedy School and a bachelor's in IT and management from La Roche University. And so I'm going to open the floor up to Benjamin and Nshuti, but I'll start with Nshuti because of ladies first, to give us, a brief take, listening to the young entrepreneurs and, what challenges they've mentioned. What does she make of this entire conversation going forward? So Nshuti, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good morning to everyone, or good afternoon. Greetings from Brazil, where it's morning. And I'm here to particularly speak on the driving financial inclusion across the world. As far as the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, I believe it is the single most important opportunity of our generation and your generation and generations after, because private sector-led development is the surest way to lift ourselves out of poverty. And anything that focuses on elevating businesses is precisely where we should focus. As Mavis said, aid is not the solution. Businesses, and the AfCFTA provides us with that single opportunity to drive business development and growth for Africans, to create products like the one I'm wearing. I endeavor to wear made in Africa every day, and sell them across this wonderful market of over 1.4 billion people. We are there's such a unique opportunity to get this done. And so the AfCFTA, we don't have to get bogged down by the protocols, because it is what governments are legally binding themselves and committing to doing. The important thing is for youth to understand what has the government committed to? By when are they supposed to make it happen? And ensure that you put pressure on your government to make it happen. Equally, from an opportunity perspective, is to explore what opportunity is there in your village. What product, what service can you harness that can not only serve your community, but the community after, until you reach the entire 1.4 billion people. And so at Better Than Cash Alliance, we've been working a lot with the Africa Continental Free Trade Area Secretariat, especially on the protocol on digital trade, which I'm obsessed with. Digitalization for everyone and financial inclusion for everyone. When I lived in Ghana, yes, these entrepreneurs are who I visited most when I went out from Iran. One selling coconut water, so I didn't need to carry water on the street. So I can imagine packaging that coconut water and flesh and exporting it across the continent. We are consuming coconut milk coming from Thailand, etc. When I go to shop, I make sure I'm looking for made in Africa products as well. So I would love to see this young man, and that's the opportunity of the AfCFTA, or come together with other coconut sellers, bring that water into environmentally friendly packaging, take it to sell it within Ghana and export it to across the continent, because many of us are looking for coconut water because it's very healthy. If you're a runner, it has the best electrolytes you can have. So that's the opportunity in the AfCFTA that we have. For the woman selling my favorite coffee brogman and peanuts, I buy those peanuts and travel with them. In fact, I was in New York earlier during the General Assembly with a bottle of peanuts from Ghana that I shared with people who asked me where I got them. There was no labeling on them. But imagine if these peanuts were seen in all the shelves across Africa, or if they were enjoyed by everyone. They need to get on shelves in the stores. They need to get on e-commerce platforms. So what we are doing right now to take protocol to reality, we are engaging with women and youth entrepreneurs, and I'm grateful for this opportunity by Asset and the MasterCard Foundation to understand the lived experience of women and youth. In this particular case, I have an opportunity to hear from youth. What challenges are you facing today in terms of trade? But how do we mobilize the ecosystem of solution providers, whether it is government from accelerating what they committed to in that protocol, or banks in ensuring that they provide affordable finance for everybody, or telcos to ensure that people have smart devices that they can access information about markets, be able to digitalize their business. Payments, of course, we are the Better Than Cash Alliance to simplify how we do business, to ensure that when I buy those peanuts or coconut water or plantain chips from Ghana, instantly, Eura, I think that's your name, can be able to receive
Absolutely.
his money instantly and send those goods my way. And we, the effort is, for the first time, we're having the various institutions of the African Union led by the AfCFTA Secretariat get on the road, go to entrepreneurs in cities. We will be visiting land borders as well, because the trade that is happening across the border communities, which are home to nearly 400,000 million, are the most digitally and most financially excluded today. So as you cross Aflao, as you cross DRC, Rwanda, as you cross all these borders, you see especially women and especially youth involved in logistics, taking the bicycle to take goods on the other side. How do we ensure that those logistics are managed digitally? How do we ensure that young man, every time he's paid digitally, and those data points allow him to access finance, that he can go from the bicycle to the motorcycle to a pickup truck? All that is possible when we are intentional in appreciating the challenges that are faced by entrepreneurs and really mobilize every effort, especially private sector investment, to harness these entrepreneurial opportunities and get these products into the hands of people so that we can create wealth, lasting wealth that will lift us out of poverty. Thank you.
Awesome. All right, thank you very much, Nshiti. That was amazing. Of course, we'd also want to hear from Benjamin Asante as well.
Thanks, Karim. And I think I wanted to flag earlier that you had given me a PhD that I hadn't earned. So yeah, but thank you a lot. Thanks to you and the team. So I think probably I would be speaking largely from a financial services sector perspective, and I think obviously from a banks or from a financial services side, we do recognize that I think a key challenge. Part of what has been highlighted is obviously capacity and financing for a number of the things that some of the entrepreneurs do work at. And I think it's the most difficult thing really for every entrepreneur, how to raise the required level of capital to operate, knowing that traditionally banks may be requiring things like collaterals and probably high interest rate, which makes it difficult for the average entrepreneur to appropriately, gather the resources required to do the work. And indeed, even primarily before sending funds across countries or actually sending goods, exporting goods across the AfCFTA region. So I think as banks, I think those are some of the things that, together with the entity Mastercard Foundation, I think the objective is to try as much as possible to make it easy for some of these entrepreneurs to gain access to funding as easy as possible. I think with the backing of the foundation, for example, with Absa Bank, where I work, we have introduced, or we are running, unsecured loans that are running up to 1 million cedis and sometimes more. Purely just on the back of the track record and the performance of the entrepreneur. Also, we are equally offering, together with other banks, offering interest rates at 10% and below in single digits. So basically, these are things that, together with other financial institutions, it is expected that we would play our part in supporting the activities of these entrepreneurs as they seek to drive the growth of Africa. So maybe just a comment on that side is to say, across financial institutions, all of us will have to put our hands to the plow and provide as much support to these entrepreneurs to deliver the kind of production that we're expecting of them. So Karim, that will be my comment for now. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Mr. Benjamin Asante Asamoah. I would also want to hear from Andrew Amegashi. He's a program officer at the National AfCFTA Coordination Office and the commercial officer at the Ministry of Trade and Industry, where he supports market entry for Ghanaian companies and conducts capacity building workshops. His work focuses on trade integration, MSME development, and leveraging AfCFTA initiatives to drive Africa's economic prosperity. With a blend of academic expertise and practical experience, Andrew is dedicated to championing initiatives that unlock new opportunities and foster sustainable growth across the continent. Andrew would also take a few comments from you as well.
Hello, good morning. I trust everyone is well. So
Absolutely.
Just to add on what my fellow panelists and colleagues have said. So from the perspective of the National AfCFTA Coordination Office, we do appreciate that information is key to implement the AfCFTA, because in its simplest form, you can't really participate in what you don't know about. If you don't know about the agreement, the benefits, the opportunities, and so on, you just can't participate in such an agreement. So what have we done so far in relation to getting the message across? So since the establishment of the office, we've developed an FAQ document, that's frequently asked document, which is simplified. It provides the necessary details to the young entrepreneur. So issues related to what the AfCFTA is, the benefits that accrues or that are available to the private sector, SMEs, and also the opportunities out there. Beyond that, we touch on the import process, the export process, and of course, how to acquire the, let me say, the passport to trade under AfCFTA, which is the certificate of origin. So this document actually exists. We also undertake regular sensitization exercises across the regions of Ghana. So Ghana, for instance, has 16 regions. We make sure we hit the road every year. We go along with partner institutions because trade is broad. Trade is broad. Trade, and for that matter, AfCFTA is multi-sectorial. So when hitting the road, we go with customs, we go with export promotion, we go with standards authority, FDA. So they touch base with the SMEs in the regions to inform them about what their various institutions are doing with respect to the AfCFTA. And just to add a little bit on the financial space, with the office, we can't provide finance for the SMEs. But what we did was that we held a forum with the financial institutions, with the banks and insurance companies, to inform them about the AfCFTA and the benefits and opportunities that exist for them. And since then, we have about 12 banks that have established focal desks or focal persons in their various institutions. So what they seek to do is to get tailor-made products for SMEs that want to trade under the AfCFTA. If I recall, just to mention a few, some of the banks include Absa Bank, Stanchart, EcoBank, Stanbic, Cowbank, Republic Bank. These are just to mention a few that readily come to mind. So we do appreciate the fact that finance is also essential to get the goods across the borders. Hence the need for us to engage with the financial institutions, for them to internalize it and also come up with products that are tailor-made for the needs of the SMEs or the young entrepreneurs. Yeah, so these are just some brief comments I'll make in that respect. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Amegashi. I wish I could give you all another opportunity to, go on and on and on again. But of course, we are time bound and we would want to move on to the second session. And so I'm sure we'll have ample time where we can do some Q&A and, where you can ask all the relevant questions that you want to ask. And then we'll get responses from our policy expert as well. So I want us to jump straight into our second session, but I'm told there's going to be an engagement poll that's going to be happening as well. And so you can look at that and please respond to the questions that have popped up on your screen right now. While at it, we would be, getting ready for the second session. Wilfred, would you want to do the introductions of panelists and experts for the second session? Great.
Okay. Thank you, Karim. Merci Karim et aux précédents panélistes qui ont vraiment posé le contexte, parlé des challenges et ce qui est en train d'être fait, ce qui doit être fait pour que les jeunes entrepreneurs, les PME puissent tirer profit de la ZECAF. Donc, Karim le disait là, un sondage a été lancé. Il apparaît certainement sur vos écrans, dont nous invitons à le remplir. Donc, nous passons à la prochaine session, le prochain panel, qui a pour objectif de sensibiliser au sujet de la ZECAF. Nous avons entendu les précédents panélistes qui nous ont fait savoir qu'il y avait des challenges. Diffie Precious a partagé avec nous son expérience et il ressortait clairement que dans l'encadrement qu'il donne aux jeunes entrepreneurs. Un des éléments clés, c'était de s'informer et d'être formé. Nous venons aussi d'écouter Andrew, qui a parlé de ce qu'ils font sur le terrain pour sensibiliser les jeunes entrepreneurs au sujet de la ZCAF et des centres sur le terrain, et même les institutions financières, parce que c'est un élément clé, un élément capital pour capaciter les entrepreneurs à exporter. Donc, notre session est focalisée sur la sensibilisation, éduquer les jeunes entrepreneurs sur les protocoles de la ZCAF. À quoi est-ce qu'il renvoie, comment en tirer profit. Et pour cela, nous avons 5 panélistes, des jeunes entrepreneurs et puis des personnes investies dans la formulation des politiques commerciales. Nous allons commencer par Madame Annelé Simon, qui est secrétaire générale. Et elle travaille à inclure, elle travaille énormément, beaucoup à l'inclusion des jeunes dans tout ce qui est le commerce intra-africain. Elle est titulaire d'une licence en droit de l'Université de Pretoria et d'une maîtrise en droit européen, commerce international et investissement de l'Université catholique de Lyon. Donc, elle se concentre spécifiquement sur les droits de propriété intellectuelle et les stratégies de mise en œuvre et d'implémentation de la ZCAF. Le travail de Mme Annelé porte principalement sur l'autonomisation des jeunes et les approches novatrices pour favoriser leur inclusion dans la ZCAF. Donc, est-ce que Annelé, vous êtes là? Juste signaler.
CCC, thank you.
OK, super, super. Donc, nous allons avoir un autre panéliste, M. Cham-Étienne Bama, que j'ai eu le plaisir de côtoyer par le passé. C'était un expert en politique commerciale avec près de 15 années d'expérience dans la conception, la mise en œuvre et l'évaluation des politiques commerciales, avec un accent particulier sur le commerce transfrontalier, la promotion des exportations et la facilitation des échanges. Actuellement, il est conseiller technique du directeur général du Conseil national des chargeurs et il est aussi le directeur régional du Commonwealth Enterprise and Investment Council pour le Cameroun, le Gabon et le Togo. Donc, il y a beaucoup de casquettes. Monsieur Chama a contribué énormément à plusieurs initiatives du commerce international au niveau continental, y compris concernant le commerce guidé, la ZCAF. Alors, Monsieur Cham, est-ce que vous êtes là?
Oui,
Étienne?
bonjour Wilfried, je
OK.
suis là.
OK, très bien. Donc, nous allons commencer tout de suite avec Madame Annelé qui va nous donner un aperçu de ce que c'est que la ZCAF, quelles sont ses dispositions, nous aider à comprendre comment est-ce que ça marche. Madame Annelé, vous avez la parole.
Thank you very much, Wilfried, for the kind introduction. And thank you also to MasterCard Foundation and to AFCFTA and all its good people for putting this intergenerational conversation together. My name's Anila Simon, as Wilfried has already stated. I am an international trade lawyer, legal researcher, and I'm also the Secretary General at ICAYACA, which is the youth advisory on the AfCFTA. And of course, AfCFTA is my favorite topic, and it's a topic I spend a lot of time on. I'm currently at the African Union headquarters in Addis Ababa, where there is a meeting for the Pan-African Chambers of Commerce from all of our countries. And I'm doing sensitization on how they can use the protocol on women and youth in trade, which is a new protocol, to be more inclusive and also to be impacting youth and women-owned businesses. But today my intervention is with regards to the framework of the AfCFTA. You'll please excuse me. I have prepared a quick presentation, which I'm sure Assets might share it with everyone, because I won't go through every single slide. However, there are some things that I will touch on that I think are important for us as young people and as Africans. This is what we should know at least. So, okay, So obviously, as Madam Mavis said in the beginning, that the purpose of the AfCFTA is to build a big African market across the continents for goods and services, and it's going to help us to establish a continental customs union. What this means is that it will gradually, okay, not immediately, gradually, over time, remove the duty, or what we call the import or export tax. Sometimes we'll also refer to that as the tariff. That's what it will do. And I need us to be very clear, because there's a lot of misinformation about AfCFTA. There are not a lot of experts, but there are a lot of people who need the information. So sometimes information gets lost in the cracks. Sometimes we attribute to the AfCFTA things that are not actually its objectives, okay? But its main objective is the gradual, over time, removal of those tariffs. And then in turn, that will make products cheaper. And if products are cheaper, they're more accessible. And of course, the more they're more accessible, we can actually start using African products produced on the continent and also create jobs through this whole system. So I've just said this part. We're trying to create one African market for trade, starting with mutual recognition of standards and also liberalization of tariffs. This will boost our intra-African trade across the continent. I want us to pay attention to the name of this agreement. Now, I will say, as a trade nerd or as a trade law nerd, these names are very important. There are a lot, and I mean a lot, over 300 different trade agreements all over the world, okay? And they all have names. Just the same way I'm the only one on this discussion today who's named Anele, because it sets me apart. This is called the AfCFTA. In French, of course, it's ZELICAF, but in English, it's AfCFTA. That small f, some people might think, why do we have that tiny little f there? It's there for a very good reason, for a very important reason. The reason I'm telling you this is because I'd like us to start taking ownership and having a sense of pride into our African things, and we must call them correctly. Because if we call it the AfTA or the ACFTA, or we call it whatever other name, you're giving people outside of the continent permission to also call this by the wrong name. This is a trade agreement that is unique by number, by size, by people. So we should give it the right respect and call it by the name. It's the AfCFTA in English, okay? Now, as I said, my background is international trade law, and I deal with a lot of trade agreements. And I just want to show you let's say the little danger of calling this by the wrong name. The Southeast Asian countries, so your Philippines, Myanmar, Vietnam, Brunei, and others, they have a trade agreement that is called the ASEAN Trade Agreement. It is the Association of Southeast Asian Nations Free Trade Area. In short, it's called AfTA. So that's why you can't call this one AfTA, because AfTA already exists. Later, the Association of the Southeast Asian Countries, they had another trade agreement that they joined with China, a free trade area between them and China. And that's called the ASEAN-China Free Trade Area. Or in short, it's the ACFTA. So again, you can't call the African one the ACFTA. And if you look at the ACFTA, if you just put the small little f there, then you have our trade agreement, the AfCFTA. So I always start my presentations like this so that we can begin to call this by the right name. It's important for creating a sense of ownership into our things and into African trade agreements. Okay. Of course, this is a huge trade agreement, 54 countries that have signed. This is the biggest in the world, biggest association of countries that are coming together to make an FTA. The only country that hasn't signed yet is Eritrea. And Eritrea has stated its reasons for not signing. They're still a member of the AU, of course, but they have their special reasons for not signing. So, of course, there are 55 African countries, but only 54 are currently part of the AfCFTA. I'm pretty sure for everybody on the call right now, unless you're from Eritrea, every one of our countries are a part of the AfCFTA. Now, this is my main area, which Asset has asked me to eliminate in terms of how is it positioned? What is the bird's eye view? How does this look? If we had to cut it open, if you can think of an onion, you have a big onion and you cut that onion open and it has many, many, many layers. Or an orange, if you had to split the orange open and it has many different segments, so too is this agreement, if you can think about it that way. So remember we said that the name is important. AfCFTA stands for African Continental Free Trade Area. Free Trade Area. I know a lot of people are usually tempted to say it's the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. It's not. It's the African Continental Free Trade Area. So it is the area where the trade will be happening. But there is an agreement, yes, there is an agreement that establishes the area. There's an agreement that brings the area into being. And in that agreement, there's other layers of rules and objectives and commitments that are made by our governments. So what you have is an African Continental Free Trade Area, but you have an agreement that establishes it. So when we're talking about the agreement, which you'll hear people talk about a lot, we're talking about the agreement that establishes the free trade area. Now, under this agreement, think of it as just one big giant document. Under this, let's say there's different chapters, if you think of it that way. Let's separate it as chapters or extra parts of it. And these are called protocols. Does anybody know, or can anybody jump in and tell us, what do you think a protocol is in your understanding? Not the moderators. Anyone in the audience, you can just unmute yourself if you want to maybe give your understanding of what the protocol is. I'm not sure if participants are able to unmute themselves right now.
Yes, I think they can. Je crois qu'ils peuvent prendre, répondre, enfin, ouvrir le micro, lever leur main, ouvrir le micro et puis prendre la parole très rapidement.
Okay. All right, to save time, I'll just move on since no one is being brave enough to explain what a protocol is. A protocol is a legally binding document, okay? It is legally binding. And what they do is they basically are a formal agreement, and it outlines the broad principles of what the member states or what our governments are trying to do. So in a protocol, so you can see there's many different protocols here. It will basically tell us a specific area of cooperation. So trade in goods, trade in services, competition policy, intellectual property rights, and things like that. Okay, so you can think of a protocol as a document of the broader picture. Okay, this document has the broader picture and it has the objectives of what we are trying to achieve under the AfCFTA. It's a bigger picture document. Now, on each bigger picture document, you can see from this picture here. By the way, I got this picture from TRAILAC, which is a wonderful resource that you should be using. It's free of charge. And they do a lot of capacity building through their websites and through trainings. But anyway, each protocol, like the protocol on trade in goods, the protocol on trade in services, dispute settlements, they each have an annex. So you have the bigger agreement, which is the agreement that establishes the AfCFTA, the free trade area. And then you have chapters, the protocol that has the bigger picture of what we want to achieve. And then you have an annex, which you can think of it as a supporting document to each protocol. So if a protocol is the what do we want to achieve, the objective, the annex is how do we want to achieve it. The annex is the how-to document. So you shouldn't be confused when you see these things. Yes, we want to have trade in goods, but then how are we going to achieve the trade in goods? That's the annex part. For example, for the protocol on trade in goods, we have many annexes. One of those important annexes is the annex on rules of origin. We want to start moving African products from one region to another region at no tariff after 10 years or however long. We want to start doing that. But how am I going to know that I'm not moving Colombian products? I'm just importing products from Colombia and I'm moving them all over the continent. The rules of origin annex will tell us what is defined by this product as an African product, and therefore it qualifies, okay? You also have the non-tariff barriers. So when you're moving goods from one place to another, besides the money that you pay on the goods, there's other barriers that make it difficult. Some border people, they want to be bribed, okay? Some areas, the roads are not good, or they just make it super difficult with different licensing, and you need so much paperwork that's different. Those are non-tariff barriers. So we need to know how to remove them so our goods can be moving freely. So this is basically, it explains, like I said, if you cut an onion in half and you open it, this is what the agreement would look like. It happened in different phases. We have phase 1, which came out in 2021 when we started to implement officially the free trade area. Phase 1 was the protocol on trade in goods, the protocol on trade in services, and then my personal area of my main expertise is the protocol on procedures and settlements of disputes. This one is very important. It's the backbone of the agreement. What happens if the member states suddenly don't respect what they said they would do? We said that all of these protocols are legally binding, but what happens if one of the member states decides, no, I'm not going to drop those tariffs, or it decides, no, I'm not going to allow products from country A and country D because they said something I don't like? Then the protocol on dispute settlement tells us how they're going to solve that dispute and what happens to that member state. We then moved on to phase 2, which is the protocol on competition policy and the protocol on intellectual property rights, okay? Intellectual property rights are basically your intellectual property rights over your products or your services. If I'm starting a course online, maybe like a course like what we are doing now, and I want to sell it in Ghana, and I want to send it to Sierra Leone, and I also want to send it to Egypt, how do I know that someone's not going to copy my course word for word and start making money out of it? Because it's protected by intellectual property rights, and that protocol tells us how they will be used. And then lastly, phase 3 happened this year, or basically they were adopted earlier this year. And this is the protocol on women and youth in trade, as well as the protocol on digital trade. Now, these protocols, I know they're not available online as yet. We're not quite sure why the Secretariat hasn't made them available, but my guess is that because the annexes, the how-to documents to these protocols, you can see they're not yet available. Once the annex is available, they will probably be published for everyone to see. Now, I think I'll stop here. I won't really go into the rest of everything, but I just want to say that while we are here at Chambers of Commerce and trying to figure out how different chambers of commerce can help youth businesses and other businesses, what we've also noticed is that us as African people, we need to have a change of mindset about the AfCFTA. Excuse me. I know that a lot of people are frustrated because it seems like it's so slow. We've been waiting for so long. When is my country going to ratify? Because some countries have not made it law. When is my country going to start trading? And I think this confusion comes a lot because most of us who have been trying to explain this agreement, we compare it a lot to the European Union agreement. And the reason that is because the European Union agreement is also a continental free trade area between, I think, 26 countries. You'll forgive my numbers there. I want to say 26 countries, but I also think it's 23, but it doesn't matter. It's 20-something countries, and they're trading. They have a customs union. They have free movements. They have free movement of money. They have the same currency. When are we going to get there? When are we going to get there? And then it looks like the AfCFTA is so slow, but that's not at all the case, okay? We explain it in that way because that's a big number of countries, but it's not as big as 54. So of course ours will be slower. We are comparing the beginning stages of the AfCFTA. When we're comparing it to the end product, that is the EU agreement. And I know a lot of people don't know that this agreement, our present agreement, the AfCFTA, is a really fast-moving agreement. I'd say it's a rapid trade agreement as someone who works with trade agreements. 1957, the EU was established in 1957, but they didn't have a single market yet. They only had an agreement to have a single market in 1987. 1987. 30 years later. And that was only implemented in 1992 or 1993. So I'm a lawyer, so my maths is really bad. If you count from 1957 to 1993, compared to something that started in 2021 and is actually already moving in 2024, we should be proud. And even though it's slowly, it's actually moving faster than most. Okay, I'll stop there. Thank you.
All right,
Yeah,
thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Annalie. You had so much to say. Merci beaucoup, Annalie. Très instructif. Je suis sûr que si un participant n'était pas au courant, au parfum de ce que c'est que la ZLECAf, aujourd'hui, il a ces informations-là. Donc, sans plus tarder, nous allons introduire le prochain panéliste, Monsieur Cham. Comme je vous l'ai dit, c'est un expert en politique commerciale et j'ai eu le plaisir de le côtoyer par le passé dans le cadre de l'implémentation d'initiatives sur le commerce guidé au Cameroun. Donc, Monsieur Cham, nous voulons vous écouter maintenant. Au début, la présidente faisait savoir que nous sommes là pour agir sur le terrain. Nous ne vont plus rester au niveau du potentiel. Alors, je sais que vous avez été très instrumental dans l'implémentation de la ZLECAf au Cameroun. J'aimerais que vous partagiez avec nous qu'est-ce qui est fait ou bien qu'est-ce que les gouvernements doivent faire pour que nos jeunes entrepreneurs puissent effectivement bénéficier de cet accord. Parlez-nous de votre expérience sur le terrain, quelles sont les bonnes pratiques qui marchent et comment est-ce qu'on y arrive. Merci.
Yeah, thank you very much, Wilfried. And let me start by congratulating Annele Simon for the massive thunderstorm of knowledge that she has poured into this session. And I'm asking myself if I'll have any other thing to say when she has already elaborated on the AfCFTA legal compact. But then permit me to align with her by saying that the AfCFTA is a framework that is not isolated within the Continental integration framework. It is part of a process under Agenda 2063, which has other complementary programs to support the achievement of the AfCFTA objectives, Article 3 and 4 of the agreement. Among these programs, you have the Program for Infrastructure Development, PIDA, which is currently being implemented. We have the Lobito corridor that moves from Angola to Tanzania, developing railway infrastructure to facilitate the movement of goods by connecting these two extremes, passing through DR Congo, Zambia, and other countries. We have the Abidjan-Lagos corridor, which falls under PIDA, which is currently being developed with the support of Afrexim Bank and the African Development Bank to connect and streamline trade across this corridor in West Africa. The Abidjan-Lagos corridor links 5 countries of the region and is one of the most busiest corridors on the continent. Their work is going on to be able to ensure that the AfCFTA delivers on its promises. You have other infrastructure development on the continent that are within this framework. Just to tell you that people have been talking about infrastructure. Africa does not have the infrastructure that it takes to trade. There is currently a program under Agenda 2063 that is supporting infrastructure development. When you go to the maritime sector, over the last 20 or 25 years, we have seen 50 new ports developed or upgraded across the continent with the support of our development partners, notably China, which has come in through PPP, through Build, Operate, and Transfer, or through other legal frameworks that have been put in place by various member states of the AU. We have the Single African Air Transport Market, which is a framework that seeks to liberalize the African sky for African airlines. For example, Ethiopian airline flying across the continent under SAM will not have to pay landing and takeoff charges again in our airports. And this will bring down the cost of flying across the continent to a considerable ratio where Africans will have access to air transport services, thereby boosting tourism services, which is part of the priority services under the Protocol on Trade in Services. We equally have the African Agricultural Development Scheme, which is consigned under Agenda 2063, where we are looking at the different agricultural pools on the continent to develop products which we can trade, thereby contributing in developing regional value chains, which is in line with the AfCFTA objective. We equally have the Free Movement Protocol under the Yamoussoukro decision, which seeks to eliminate visas for Africans so that we can move across the continent freely, as the European Union area do allow for European citizens to move around freely. Remember, at the moment, we have about 30 African countries that that have eliminated visas or have gone on digital visas. That's the e-visa or visa on arrival on the continent, thereby facilitating the movement of Africans across the continent. Another 25 countries are still working. If you look at the AfDB Visa OpenNet Index, there has been progress, but under the Free Movement Protocol, we seek to go deeper than just eliminating visas, to give the right of residence to Africans and then the right of establishment, so that once you are in a country, only the right to vote will distinguish you from the national of that country. Any other national treatment of citizens, you will have to enjoy that as an African on the African continent. There are a host of other projects like that that contribute to the achievement of the AfCFTA. And now back to the agreement itself. As Anele has rightly said, we have the agreement itself, the framework agreement, and then now we have other technical issues that have been captured into protocols, and then the annexes, which are the specific aspects of the various technical issues. I will not come back to that. The agreement is in force since 2019, but due to outstanding issues that were to be negotiated, rules of origin and tariff concessions, the agreement was operationalized on the 1st of January, 2021. But since then, the question is, have we traded under the African Continental Free Trade Area? From 2019 to 2022, I can assure you trade was not taking place on the continent. And that is why, in line with Article 11.3J of the agreement, the Secretariat came up with a mechanism to allow countries to go according to their capacity under what we call the principle of variable geometry, allowing countries to onboard when they are ready. The Secretariat designed the Guided Trade Initiative, which was captured into the Ministerial Decision number 1 of 2021 to allow countries that have already met with their legal disposition by onboarding the agreement in their tariff schedules within their national framework through some countries like Cameroon, their finance law, where the Minister of Finance is supposed to capture this into the finance law, take it to Parliament, and then that is approved by Parliament, and it is being published in the finance law of the country, giving mandate to custom administrations now to have a tariff book at the borders with the phase-out period being indicated for trade to take place under this preferential regime. So that was done by a few countries, 8 of them initially, amongst which we have Cameroon, we have Ghana, we have Tanzania, Kenya, Rwanda, and Mauritius Island, and Tunisia. So with these 8 countries started trading. They started trading among themselves. They were not trading with all countries that have ratified and deposited their instrument of ratification in line with Article 22 of the agreement, but they were trading among the GTI member states. Why? Because there were domestic issues that were supposed to be complied with before a country can have the tariff books at their borders. And what were these domestic issues? The principal one being gazetting. Countries needed to gazette the AfCFTA into their finance law or into their national gazette or the official gazette of their countries. Once that is done, it is now for the Ministry of Finance and the Custom Administration to make available the AfCFTA tariff book at the borders, so that once you import your goods with the certificate of origin, you are able to present the certificate of origin of the AfCFTA to the Custom Administration, be it at the air borders, the maritime borders, or the land borders, for your goods to be verified so that they comply with the AfCFTA rules of origin, which are specific to each chapter of the harmonized system of the custom code. So this was done by these 8 countries, and then they embarked on a pilot phase, which is due in some few days from now, when we'll be launching the second phase of the AfCFTA guided trade, where we have about 32 countries that are onboarding. So what have we done? From the 7th of October, 2022 to today, the 26th of September, 2024. Yes, we have been able to import and export under the AfCFTA. What have we exported? We have exported goods that were traditionally being exported or imported under the MFN of the World Trade Organization, because we must bear in mind that the AfCFTA does not apply to member states of the same regional economic community. It doesn't apply because regional economic communities are the building blocks of the African Continental Free Trade Area. What does that mean? It means that within the RECs, we have free trade agreements which exist in line with the Lagos Plan of Action and further the Abuja Treaty. It was agreed within this framework that regional economic communities will liberalize their trade to enable the continent now to have a further continental free trade area, which is now the AfCFTA. So the agreement was that we should not go back into members of the same REC to trade under the AfCFTA. They should trade under their free trade areas of the RECs, which are supposed to be higher than the AfCFTA, or at least at the same level with the AfCFTA. So with this in mind, only members of one REC can trade with members of another REC under the AfCFTA. But then there is this issue of overlapping membership, or the spaghetti bowl effect, where we have some member states that belongs to multiple regional economic communities, like the DR Congo, which belongs to 4 regional economic communities, notably the East Africa Community, COMESA, SADC, and ECAS. What do you do with such a state party? So it is within this framework that member states of the same REC can use the belonging or the appartenance of one of their member states in another REC to trade with that state party under the AfCFTA. So these are some of the technical issues. And then now, as we onboarded existing trade across the continent with those in the guided trade initiative, because remember Article 5 talks about the principle of reciprocity. This is a very important principle. What does reciprocity mean? It means that if you cannot trade under the AfCFTA, therefore I, a member state of the GTI, cannot trade with you. And unless you onboard into the GTI, which is now a framework for reciprocity, therefore we can trade with you. And it was not until the 31st of January, 2024 that South Africa onboarded into the GTI and is therefore able to trade with Cameroon under that. And as I speak with you, we have containers of A4 papers that have been imported as our first consignment from South Africa to Cameroon. They are currently being processed by my office back in Douala under the AfCFTA. That's our first consignment. However, we have received consignment from Tunisia and Egypt under the AfCFTA, which are proving to be one of the highest beneficial countries on the AfCFTA framework so far. Remember, early July this year, the Minister of Trade for Tunisia announced that they have already issued 93 certificates of origin under the AfCFTA for a period of less than 2 years, signaling the huge benefit that this agreement provides for a member state of the African Union. And as we look forward to phase 2 of the GTI, it is with hope that we will be able to deploy our arsenal to export into West Africa, which is one of the principal markets where exporters from Cameroon are trading under the current regime of the MFN. So now, what are we working at the level of the GTI? We are looking to onboard businesses by doing a survey in major distribution outlets like supermarkets. We conduct surveys in supermarkets by identifying locally made products which are already in shelves. We collect data on them, contact the producers, and then onboard them on what we are calling the AfCFTA champion database. Once you are in our champion database, we conduct a market research to identify niche market for export of your products. And that we have been able to identify that in West Africa, we have massive potential for our products, as well as in the COMESA region. So that is the work we are doing and a lot more. We're working with development partners like the UNDP, the AfCFTA Secretariat, and the ECAS Secretariat to be able to make sure that we align our national policies with our engagement and law of the AfCFTA so that there shouldn't be conflicting legal frameworks between the AfCFTA and national frameworks. Wilfred, I will end here and maybe with questions will further provide some ingredients for a better understanding of what we are doing under the AfCFTA. Thank you.
Thank you, Sham, for sharing your experience in Cameroon. Merci beaucoup, chers collègues, cher Sham, nous avoir fait cette rétrospective sur la ZLECAf et surtout d'avoir partagé avec nous ce qui se passe sur le terrain. On peut voir que ce n'est plus, on n'est plus dans le potentiel. En fait, on passe de plus en plus de parler du potentiel à la réalité sur le terrain. Le commerce sous le régime de la ZLECAf se produit déjà. Donc, je vais laisser la suite à Karim qui va introduire d'autres panélistes et entrepreneurs qui auront certainement des questions à poser à nos experts qui viennent de parler. Karim, over to you.
All right, thank you very much, Wilfred. Amazing presentation, and really amazing presentation by Sham as well. And of course, I'd also just like to acknowledge how active, the comment section is. You guys are just, you're just amazing participants. That's all I've got to say. Like, you're so active in the comment section. And so clearly what it means is that some learning is ongoing, it means that something is happening right here. I'm just going to go ahead and introduce, our next panelist who would have an opportunity. They have 3 minutes to ask Anele and Sham any questions. And then both Sham and Anele would have 2 minutes each to answer the questions that have been asked. And so I'd ask that they pay rapt attention to this bit. But of course, let me introduce Fela Akinse, who is a multi-award-winning entrepreneur and inventor with 2 global patents, including modular shoes made from ocean plastic waste and carbon decomposition shoe technology. He holds a bachelor and master's degree in environmental toxicology and pollution management from the University of Lagos, and founded Salubata after working as a business analyst and environmental scientist. His innovations have gained global recognition, and he has spoken at events such as COP28, the African Union and European Union forums, and TEDx, with his company having a presence in over 40 countries. Wow, that's impressive. Fela, if you're here, just briefly say hi to us before I introduce the next person. Hi, Fela. We have Fela Akinse. Okay, that's fine. I'm going to go ahead and introduce Margaret Nesimari. So Margaret, a double yearly alumni from Durban, KwaZulu-Natal, is a social entrepreneur and founder of MRN Designs, which transforms plastics and textile waste into upcycled fashion accessories and custom gifts. And through her innovative approach, she advocates for sustainable consumption by offering eco-friendly products that promote waste management and environmental preservation. MRN Designs creates meaningful, timeless gifts that connect customers to both your loved ones and the planet, contributing to the green economy. Margaret, if you're here, just say a brief hello to us.
Hi, how is everyone? Thank you for having me.
Great. Good to see you, Margaret. I'm actually visiting your country next month. And then Frank Makiba is a computer engineer and the CEO and founder of Haruza AI, a company focused on innovative technology. He's a multi-award-winning entrepreneur as well, recognized as 2024 Zimbabwe International Trade Fair Young Innovators Forum winner and the 2023 Zimbabwe Presidential Award winner. Additionally, Frank won the 2022 UNESCO India Africa Hackathon, highlighting his expertise and contributions to the tech industry. And so, Frank, Margaret, Fela, you all heard, Sham, and you heard Anele as well. You have an opportunity to ask them questions. You have 3 minutes to ask them whatever questions that you may have concerning all that they have said in relation to the Continental Free Trade area or agreement, as it may be. And of course, they also have an opportunity to ask and to respond to your questions as well. So the floor is yours now. yes, just let us know, and then you can go ahead and ask your question.
Hi everyone. So I'm Margaret Nesamare, and I'd like a question directed at Shama. He mentioned the role of digital platforms and e-commerce. And as you've read, I create customized gifts made from waste. And one of my processes is actually working backwards. So it's reclaiming waste. So I wanted to know, how would it be possible then, once you've reclaimed the waste from an international and continental level, what then would I be able to use a South African based reward system that I would create? Because in order for me to get the waste, I reward the people that bring the waste. How would I then be able to turn that into a digital platform that could be then implemented throughout Africa under the AfCFTA policies and protocols that we have been made aware of? Thank you so much.
Right. Can we take the next question again, and then maybe Anele and Sean can just answer all at a go. I think that would be better.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon, Frank. Good to have you.
I'm good. My question is directed to Anele. So, like one of the objectives of AfCFTA is to reach 400 and is to increase African GDP by 430 billion by 2035, and then AfCFTA was formed in 2019. That means now we are in 2024. We have reached the halfway. So I wanted to, and then Anele said AfCFTA is moving faster than any other agreements. So I wanted to ask, like, for now in 2024, like, how much has it contributed to the African GDP, since one of its objective is to raise 450 billion by 2035, and now we are in 2024. Thank you.
Okay. There are so many other questions as well in the comment section. I'm tempted to go there and touch on them, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to allow Sean and Anele to respond to the questions that you have asked. And after that, maybe if we have some time, we'll look at some questions that have been put in the comment section as well. And yeah, so Anele and Sean, you have the questions from Margaret and Frank as well. The floor is yours. Who wants to start?
If it's okay, can I start, please? If that's okay.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead. Yeah, take it.
All right. I have 2 minutes, so I'll try to be very quick. I'll answer first a question from the Q&A, and this question was asked by Sydney Maloba, and I'm going to paraphrase Sydney's question. Basically, Sydney is saying Africa is already so far behind in comparison to the other economies in the world, and we are still trying to figure out traditional trade that's continental. How are we going to fast track to participate in digital trade? My first thing to say is that, Sydney, African problems, African solutions, because we are different to the rest of the world. And yes, we are far apart, but even in development, we are far apart. Africa has the majority of the least developed countries. So if you're going to compare Africa to Canada, which is very developed, or the US, which is super developed, and EU, you're not really serving this continent. However, that doesn't mean we're not already operationalizing it. I did mention that as of this year, we have approved the Digital Trade Protocol, and Afreximbank also has the Pan-African Payments Settlement System, which is going to allow us as Africans to trade in our many different currencies without even converting to the dollar, because we still lose a lot of money through doing that. And then AE Trade also has the Sakuku e-commerce platform, which is going to have a continental reach. So while we are, yes, focusing on traditional trade, because we do need to fix that, we are also focusing on the digital trade, fintechs, platforms, and things like that. And then my next question, I believe, was Mr. Frank Makeba. And Frank is asking about the objectives of the AfCFTA. And the numbers that you're quoting are correct, but that is AfCFTA when it is fully implemented. That's how much we are expecting it to contribute to the GDP. When I was referring to the speed of this trade agreement, I'm referring to the speed at which we are implementing it, okay? The speed from the time that it was negotiated, ratified, signed by all the countries. And now, as Mr. Cham also just said, between 2019 and 2022, there was no trade. And now between 2022, 2024, countries have already signed on to GTI, and we've got 32 countries that are adding their voices to it because they are beginning to get ready to trade. Keyword here is beginning to get ready to trade because it's a lot of work. So I would say, yes, fast implementation, but we're not at full implementation yet to realize the numbers that you are asking me. Thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sean, you can take it away.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Eura. And thank you, Simon, for that insight. What we need to understand about the AfCFTA agreement is that the use of the word progressive appears basically in everything. Even the tariff phase-out period is 10 years and 13. Initially, there was 5 years, but due to some technical mechanisms, countries onboarded for 10 years and 13 years. Why the progressive liberalization? Because while we are reducing tariffs, different state parties are readjusting their industrial machineries to make the most out of the AfCFTA. This is something that we have to put in mind. And again, our markets are protected from transshipment goods. For example, if you're selling a bottle of water in South Africa, manufactured in Cameroon, you've imported this water from Cameroon to South Africa, and somebody is selling water in South Africa imported from China, the goods will not be treated under the same regime. Just because of the rules of origin, the bottle of water from Cameroon will benefit from the AfCFTA regime and the bottle of water from China. If South Africa is not having a preferential arrangement with China, it will be imported under the MFN, which implies it will have to pay for tariffs. Therefore, the goods from Cameroon without paying tariff and the goods from China paying tariff, there will already be a disadvantage for the Chinese product coming into the market, thereby telling you that the continental market is protected for goods that originate from Africa. You would like, for example, the first question was talking about plastic transformation. You can source your plastic from all the 53 state parties to the AfCFTA agreement and transform them in South Africa, which is the 54th state party, and you export to any country where you source your raw material, these products will be rules of origin compliant because the market has become what we call a single continental market under the AfCFTA. So that is something we must put into consideration when we are doing our production processes. I will not come back to the e-commerce question because Simon has answered that question. I will address the question on the objective of the AfCFTA. The AfCFTA alone cannot solve the problems of its objectives. Those objectives can only be achieved. Article 3 and 4 talks about general and specific objectives. Those objectives are not standalone objectives. Those objectives require complementary policy interventions at the national level. To address issues of access to finance, we need other complementary policies which are not within the framework of the AfCFTA. To address issues of education, skills development, those are things that are not within the framework of the AfCFTA, but can be complemented because a country has signed on to the AfCFTA and those opportunities are there. You can now review your educational policy to focus on vocational training, to develop that capacity that is required for industrial transformation. Technology as well. The protocol on digital trade looks at trade. It doesn't look at certain issues like national security, infrastructure development, and then you must look at the disposition. The use of the word may It is giving options. It's optional. The use of the word shall is mandatory. And when you look at the digital trade protocol, there is repeatedly the use of the word may. So which means that it comes back to the state parties to develop complementary policies that are specific to their needs and then to their own national objective. When you look at most African countries today, they have what we call the national development strategies, which ends 2025, some are 2030, some are 2035. In these national development strategies, which are the government blueprint, there are sectorial priorities which the government has put in place. Now there is need to align these priorities with the AfCFTA framework so that while you're seeking to achieve your national development strategy, you are complying with the AfCFTA and then achieving the objective of the African Continental Free Trade Area. Thank you.
Man, super. Honestly, I'm enjoying this particular session. I'm not gonna lie, because then there's a lot of actual education going on. It's more like, we hear a lot of things, online, see stuff in the news and all of that, but this is an actual conversation with experts. It's just like the law people tell you that there's a body there's a letter of the Constitution and there's a spirit of the Constitution. Now, beyond what we hear outside, which is just the letters, we are actually getting to find the actual spirit of the agreement, because then everything is being broken down into a simplest form for easy comprehension. I am learning, and I can tell from the chat and the comment section that the participants are learning as well. And it's amazing the knowledge all of you are sharing with us today. So I think we're going to move straight into the third session because of time. And when we are done, we'll have a general Q&A session where, the participants and everyone alike can ask all of the questions that they have. And of course, we get our industry players, our policymakers, our experts to answer these questions for us. So we're going to head straight into the third session. But let me introduce our experts and, youth panelists for this particular third session as well. The third session is going to be looking, the third session is going to be looking at leveraging the AfTA for business growth, presenting case studies and testimonials from youth-led businesses already benefiting from AfTA. So, of course, our youth panelists have an opportunity now to share with us what their experiences and testimonials are as far as AfTA is concerned. How have they already started benefiting from AfTA, and the existing protocols? And so I'm going to introduce our youth panel. We have Jennifer Ewenam Afola, we have Ruben Tamba, and we have Barbara Nakato. I'm going to read your bios out briefly to you. So Jennifer, Ruben, and Barbara, just give me a brief second. Let me scroll to your bios. So Jennifer Ewenam Afola. Jennifer is a marketing professional, entrepreneur, and advocate for youth entrepreneurship, currently serving as Ghana's champion from Ikoyaka, if I got that right, with a master's degree in impact entrepreneurship and innovation and a bachelor's in business administration. And she's gained diverse experience in roles ranging from sales to emergency call center management and youth empowerment. Jennifer has participated in masterclasses on AfTA and export readiness, showcasing her commitment to fostering growth through business, leadership, and collaboration across cultural and industry platforms. Jennifer, if you're here, please say a brief hi or hello to us.
Hello, everyone. Hi, Karim.
Hi, Onam. It's good to have you. We also have Ruben Tamba. Ruben Tamba is a seasoned Cameroonian entrepreneur with a diploma in petroleum engineering and serves as CEO of UB Brahma Investment and Logistics Limited. He holds multiple influential roles, including first vice president of the African Youth Guarantee Fund, Cameroon country director for the Independent Continental Youth Advisory Council for AfTA, and ambassador to the US for the African Diaspora Collective. With professional experience spanning West, Central, and East Africa, Ruben was recently honored as the best young Cameroonian entrepreneur by Junior Chamber International Cameroon. Ruben, if you're here, please say hi to us. Hi, Ruben. Ruben, please unmute and then just say a brief hello to us so we are sure that you are with us. Okay, let me go on and introduce Barbara Nakato. So Barbara is an award-winning Green Skills Entrepreneur and Business Development Manager at NLP UG Limited, where she has skilled over 1,000 youth in making paper bags, supporting over 30 businesses with sustainable packaging solutions. She holds a bachelor's degree in procurement and logistics management and has completed certificates in AfCFTA and entrepreneurship studies from institutions like ITC and UNDP. Barbara is actively involved in community development, volunteering with the Independent Continental Youth Advisory Council on AfCFTA and other organizations, reflecting her commitment to sustainability, and youth empowerment. So we have Jennifer, we have Ruben, and we have Barbara, who are going to be sharing their testimonies with us this morning or afternoon, depending on where it is that we find ourselves. So I'm going to start with Barbara. Barbara, what can you share with us? What success story can you share with us as someone who has benefited, from AfCFTA and all of the trainings and initiatives and all of that?
Thank you so much for that question. I was waiting for that. Barbara is my name, Nakato Barbara. Business Development Manager, Nature's Love Packaging. We do customized paper bags for hotels and restaurants and any other organization. Our business is a 360 business, so we do not limit it to only restaurants and hotels. Now, my success story is my own story. Back then, I didn't know about the AfCFTA. That was in 2020. Well, I happened to have a travel to Kenya, my first travel outside Uganda. I used bus. On using the bus, I happened to meet this lady while on my return to Uganda. This lady was Ugandan, and I'm Ugandan. So she had to hide her rice under a big skirt because she was getting it from Kenya, bringing it into Uganda. So when I asked her, why are you doing that? Why are you hiding your rice under your big skirt and under the chair? She said, I don't have the money to pay for the taxes that they're going to ask for when we are, being stopped by the people that are levying or collecting taxes. So I had to keep quiet and I had to feel sorry for her because I didn't have anything to do for her as a person. Going forward, I came back. I had a friend who works with the National Chamber of Commerce in Uganda. I told her, why does this have to happen? Because I met this lady. She's very old, but she has to hide her rice under the big skirt. Moreover, on a bus, when she goes out there in Kenya to buy her commodities, she sleeps on the streets with a grandchild. She doesn't have where to sleep, and all this is happening to her. Why can't you help us, the National Chamber of Commerce? Then she had to call me for the first AfCFTA meeting, which while they were launching the AfCFTA here at Serena Hotel in 2021. So I had to witness that happen. On witnessing that happen, I started making my moves, going to the Ministry of Trade and telling these people about this lady that I found at the bus. And these people are like, okay, is that still happening at the borders? Is that really happening? I told them, yes, it is happening. And what can we do about it? So I had to, they had to take me through how the AfCFTA works. And then that's how I got an opportunity to learn more about the AfCFTA. So this gave me leverage to be able to talk to my chief negotiators, that is Ministry of Trade and Chamber of Commerce, to help these ladies and the youths, because it really pained me a lot to see this lady trying to export her goods into Uganda. But she didn't want to pay the taxes, and her business was not registered. And that is also a point that I put across to the chief negotiators. And they had to know, and they got to know that they are ladies who are trying to do exportation and importation illegally. Yes. So on that note, one of the things that I achieved is get to know about the AfCFTA. I got an opportunity to be sponsored by the UNDP to go and learn more about that AfCFTA and its protocols. So on learning more, that's how I landed into ICOYACA, the Independent Continental Youth Advisory Council on AfCFTA. Currently, I am head of partnerships and engagements here in Uganda. Whenever we are trying to talk to those young entrepreneurs. Yes, now I'm speaking from an aspect of an ecopreneur because I largely deal with ecopreneurs, the entrepreneurs that are into green innovations and skillings. I tell them that your products can go outside there and be traded outside there across Ugandan market. I mean, across the Ugandan market alone. You can go to East Africa, you can go to South Africa, but this is the way to go. I tell them, I let them know what our Ministry of Trade is doing. I let them know of the opportunities being given by the National Chamber of Commerce. I tell them what the AfCFTA Secretariat is doing. I tell them which development partners, what opportunities are there offered by the ITC, by the UNDP, by Afreximbank. Because we are in talks with them, I tell them, people, we made these studies. We studied about the export readiness. Take us through. Can we be able to see some pilot importations and exportations being done with our own very entrepreneurs? And they say yes. So before the end of this year, with the Ministry of Trade, we are going to make sure that we see those pilot importations and exportations happen as ICOYACA Uganda and other stakeholders that are into this. We also, with our Ministry of Trade, a mini AfCFTA Secretariat was established. It was one of the strategies that were made by the Ministry of Trade in the National Implementation Strategy. I am really happy that they call us on board to contribute and they hear us out. That also people with disability are not left out. We call on them to come and take part into the conversations. And the last thing is we are soon getting the National Marketing Company. Now that National Marketing Company is supposed to sell our commodities as Ugandan entrepreneurs outside. So this National Marketing Company will bring my goods, Nature's Love goods, into your country. Mr. Ero, our moderator, it will bring commodities into your country. Yes. And then not only that, but it will help this lady that I met at the bus to, because her business is not formalized, all the people with non-formalized businesses will come into that umbrella bracket to come and trade outside there. So that is our goal as Independent Continental Youth Advisory Council. That is my goal as an individual, and much more than that. We want to see those taxes being gotten off. And even a few days back, I talked to one of the people that are making the laws that are going to govern us. I told them that these laws that you're making, that like the rules of origin, some protocols that we have to follow, they are really being, the English is so hard for the Africans because some of them didn't go to school. We are dealing with local entrepreneurs that some of them don't even have the time to go and read, but we have to do the reading on their behalf, and then we go explain to them. So we are taking them forward to make sure that they are on board with us. And at this juncture, allow me conclude with my ask. Some entrepreneurs want to be able to trade in Rwanda. So this particular ask is being made to the Minister of Trade, Mr. Sebahizi Prudence, that we would like to partner with some packaging industries. We want to have that strategic partnership in Rwanda in regards to packaging. So I hope that he will hear out our ask and then respond to us. Otherwise, on that note, I request to submit. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Barbara, for this insightful story. Merci beaucoup, Barbara, pour votre expérience très riche. On a vu les challenges auxquels font face les entrepreneurs en Ouganda, mais surtout, comment est-ce que, en vous renseignant au ministère du Commerce, vous avez pu, de fil en aiguille, commencer à profiter de cet accord. Donc, merci vraiment. Et je Je crois que votre question a bien été entendue, votre requête à l'endroit du ministre Prudence. Vous vous souvenez qu'au début de notre programme, la présidente a bien a fait savoir qu'elle s'engage personnellement à relayer toutes les requêtes que vous poserez ici. Donc, je crois que c'est pas tombé dans les oreilles de sourds et j'ai bon espoir que dans les prochains jours, vous aurez ce partenariat stratégique. Donc, nous allons continuer avec notre prochain panéliste, Jennifer. Jennifer que Karim a introduit. Donc, Jennifer, est-ce que vous pourriez en quelques minutes nous partager votre expérience ayant déjà commencé à tirer profit de l'accord d'ASECAF? Comment est-ce que vous y êtes prise? Comment ça se passe jusqu'ici et quelles sont vos recommandations? Jennifer?
Hello, Wilfred. I think I will need a translation. The only French I can speak is Medicine. So please.
Okay, no problem, no problem. So Jennifer, we want you to share your experience with us in dealing with the AfCFTA. You certainly have started trading under this agreement. We want you to share with us how you have been able to do it, what were the challenges, and what are your recommendations, and maybe some ask as Barbara did before. So over to you.
As I said earlier, merci beaucoup, Wilfred. Thank you, Wilfred. It is a pleasure to be part of this session. Good afternoon from Ghana. My name is Afala Jennifer Wenam. I own a female-led business that is into the manufacturing and selling of skincare products. We use natural-based and plant-based ingredients for our formulation. Yeah, as I mentioned, it is a pleasure to learn, unlearn, and network as well. So I see the AfCFTA as a beacon of hope, and it's becoming a reality. It's one thing that I'll be excited as a young entrepreneur, looking at the wider audience or markets in the continent. I will say it's becoming a reality or make my story a success. Yes, I have started, but there are still the challenges, and these challenges are not limited to just me. When you ask every entrepreneur on this platform, the challenges they face when it comes to cross-border trading is going to be the same thing. They're going to speak on transport and logistics, payments system, customs delay, harassment, and all other stuff. They are the same. However, I am positioning myself to take advantage or leverage on the AfCFTA when it becomes a reality. How? Getting information, just as this platform. There have been presentations, we've had policymakers, we've had a powerful presentation from Annelle Simon, that gave an in-depth but summary of the AfCFTA. We've had entrepreneurs also sharing their experiences, and myself also coming to share my experience. Before I had the understanding of the AfCFTA, I was very discouraged to trade in Africa because I have a distributor in New York, which we have our products listed on Amazon as well. And then anytime I ship my products to her, it takes about 3 working days. But I got a client in Zambia, and it took about 60 working days. So it was disappointment from my end, and from my end, I lost the clients. So doing business in Africa was one thing I wasn't interested, but in 2020, I had an opportunity to go for a training in Rwanda that was organized by UNDP to understand and seeing the AfCFTA becoming a reality. So this training, I got a lot of information from this training. So one of the things that I'm doing to position myself to take advantage of the AfCFTA is to get information. How do I get this information? Attend webinars, in-person trainings, and workshops. So we have developing partners like Ikoyaka partner with UNDP, International Trade Center, the AUC as well. In Ghana, we have the UNIDO as well, and we have the NCO. Andrew gave more highlights on the what the NCO does. So when I need information about GTI, when I need information about AfCFTA, I go to the NCO. Their office is open, and they also have, a web or a site where you can read more information about how to trade under the GTI. So that is one thing that I am doing to position myself to leverage on the AfCFTA when it becomes a reality. Another strategy is networking. Even on this webinar, I have picked a lot of contacts, a lot of emails. Networking helps because you need information from other countries. If you don't network, how will you get this information? When the AfCFTA become a reality, without information, you can't successfully trade. You won't be successful. So networking among our peers. So it is one thing that I will encourage every youth, every young person, being it you being a micro business, a medium business, or a small business, you need networking because it is very vital for your business growth. You need an information. I recently participated in the third AUMSME in Namibia, and I took my products there. I did a market research. I realized that there is a need or a demand for my products because of their weather. I do shea butter. Now, this is the issue. They have, when it comes to their customs, it is very, very rigid in Namibia. Sorry to use that word. So I came back home and I spoke to my Namibian friends because I got about 3 people who wants to be local distributors. Now we are talking about how we can trade, and there's still these challenges. So I'm looking at Southern Africa because not just Namibia. I have few clients in Zimbabwe. Anela Simon is in South Africa and she is my client. I have clients in Zambia as well. So why don't I position myself in one of the Southern Africans so that it will be easier for me to do business within that region? So with this, I have reached out to some few friends in South Africa to give me the regulatory procedures, the customs procedures, and all other things that I will need to be able to ship or export my products successfully. So that is one thing that I'm also doing to position myself. I have also signed up to the Secretariat newsletter, which anytime there is an update, I received an email from the Secretariat a week ago that there is an update on the GTI, a newsletter. So these are some of the things that I am doing, which I expect every entrepreneur to be doing. Another thing is innovation and technology. This is a wider market. We are going to compete with a lot of people. When we are talking about foreign brands and Africa brands or local brands, the difference is innovation, brand, packaging. So one thing that I am doing is being innovative and using technology. What am I going to do? My packaging, I'm going to compete with other African products. I'm still going to compete with those foreign products. So being innovative is one thing that I'm doing, and also improving the quality of my products. There is one thing that we are still hoping, I am hoping, because with the cosmetics industry, it's all about standard. So harmonization of standards, because if I still have all these things done and there is no harmonized standards, I'm still going to find challenges. I'm not going to have my product on the shelves and the market of this African country. So these are some few strategies on how I'm positioning myself. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jennifer. Merci beaucoup, Jennifer, pour ce partage très riche, très riche. Vous avez partagé avec nous plein de stratégies, les challenges et les défis. J'ai noté, par exemple, aller à la recherche des informations à travers les webinaires, participer à des formations, le networking, voilà, renforcement de capacité et l'innovation et le branding, quoi, des choses qui vous ont permis de commencer à vous démarquer dans ce domaine. Merci beaucoup pour cela. Donc, nous arrivons petit à petit au thème de notre session, mais je sais qu'il y a plein de questions qui ont été laissées dans le chat. Nous avions aussi Ruben qui devait intervenir, peut-être en 2 minutes, si Ruben est là. Est-ce qu'il peut dire un mot, partager rapidement son expérience, et puis nous prendrons les questions très rapidement avant de conclure. Ruben? Alors, je vois que Ruben n'est pas là. Donc, on va très rapidement prendre les questions. Je vais, et ce soit à Karim de conduire la phase des questions, alors qu'on s'achemine vers la fin. Karim?
Yes, I'm here with you. Great.
Yeah.
So thank you
Yeah.
so much for the insight that has been shared. And of course, Jennifer, once I'm in Ghana, I'm coming to get my bit of the shea butter as as well. Um, but at this juncture, I think I would want to open the floor up, to engage with our policymakers, with our experts and key industry players that are present with us. The likes of Sham, we have Andrew, who are with us today. Of course, we also have Mr. Benjamin Asante Nshuti as well. So we're going to open the floor now for Q&A. And so if you are with us this morning and you have any questions, please do not hesitate to put your questions in the comment section. Just raise your hand, or you can just raise your hand and would allow you, ask your questions. And so I'm going to be looking through the participant list to identify hands that have been raised. And then, okay, so John Kalisa, I see your hand. So John, please can we unmute John Kalisa to ask their question?
John, you can just unmute and speak.
Is it me, Juniors?
Okay, go ahead, Juniors. John is not speaking, but as you have your hand raised up, please go ahead.
Okay, I'm from Namibia. I'm special envoy for the ICOYACA, the Namibian chapter, and we go through lessons just to understand the AfCFTA better. And so far in Namibia, when I was checking the market, there are complications that have been existing since the 1880s that were implemented by the regime, but they still exist today, and they prevent local businesses to thrive. So what's happened is there's a red line that is drawn in Namibia, so it divides northern Namibia from southern Namibia, and now northern farmers are implicated not to export beef because they apparently, as northern farmers, which are mostly black and local business people, they don't vaccinate their animals, so they are not allowed to export. So that line now disadvantages them from exporting. And then on the other side, where we have like white farmers and some few rich commercial farmers, they are allowed to export. So I just want to know, in the African perspective, if there is such other such implications that have existed, maybe because of colonialism or other barriers, but Africans are still sticking to it. And in Namibia, we are really advocating, we are seeing CSOs advocating for such removals or barriers. And I just want to know how we can engagedly effect it better, because as much as people are advocating for this removal of these barriers, it's slow. It's there are people protecting it that are benefiting from the system, but the system is disbenefiting a lot of people.
Yeah. Okay. So thank you, Juniors, for your question. Any expert wants to respond on that? Sham, Anneli, Benjamin? Maybe we'll take another question. Okay, while we wait for some experts to respond, let's have François Mumba. François, vous pouvez ouvrir votre micro et prendre la parole. Allô, François, est-ce que vous nous recevez? Are you able to hear us, François? Okay, maybe not. Luyolo Dwesi.
Greetings, colleagues.
Yeah.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay. No, you're not Dwesi, from South Africa, from the South African Youth Trade Association, an organization that consists of youth-led businesses. But our main priority and goal is to ensure that young people have an accessibility to the conducive environment that is being created within trade. First, I would like to comment on what was said by, I think, someone from the Junta or something when she said that already there is a protocol of the African Continental Free Trade Area, but ours is to ensure that we turn that protocol into action. Well, I agree with 100%. Now it's about time that we are not theorizing the protocol, which aims to promote an inclusive and sustainable socio-economic development that will create equal opportunities for young people. My question goes to the leadership from the bank. As the youth structure, we want to ensure that there's accessibility to adequate credit, increases the ability of young entrepreneurs to trade. As you know that to access the credit, it's very complex process and a process which most young entrepreneurs and young people should be given a low interest access to finance, which does not require a property-based collateral and guarantees. There is a need to create an enabling and a legal, regulatory, and administrative environment for young people to actively participate in trade.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ensure that from the bank side, what have they done to ensure that they've created a conducive environment for young people to access credit, to ensure that we actively participate in trade. As you know, as I've mentioned that before, that it is the most process that young entrepreneurs cannot afford. So yeah, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Luyolo. Don't know if Benjamin is still there. At the beginning, he spoke about the financial product that are made available for youth to be able to seize opportunities made available under this agreement. I don't know. Let me check if it's still here. Okay, I think maybe it is. Andrew, maybe you want to say something or on this?
Hello?
Yes, Andrew. Yeah.
Yes, good afternoon to you all. So when it comes to the access to, what's it called? Access to capital or finance. As I said earlier, the banks are actually coming up with tailor-made products to sort out the needs of the entrepreneurs. But I think we should actually take it a step further and think about the what. So yes, we want the money, but what do we want the money for? With my experience, some say they want the money to undertake some training sessions for their employees. And if it's such a training sessions, they actually state institutions that organize training sessions. During Jennifer's submission, she made mention of the fact that she undertakes certain things, certain webinars and workshops and conferences and whatnot. So yes, we need finance, but what do we need the finance to do? Others will also say they want to expand their business. That's why they need the finance. And in case you're not getting that money, could you explore the option of aggregating your products with people within the same space or similar goods? Because here's the thing, When you're riding solo, you would have to bear the cost, the risks, and responsibilities that come with expansion. However, when you aggregate or consolidate your goods, number one, your product increases because you have quite a number of people producing the same product. And also you share the costs and risks when it comes to issues related or along the value chain. So yes, you can cater for something like the production. So individual A will do production, individual B, who you've consolidated or aggregated your product with, can take care of issues related to logistics. Individual C can handle something related to, say, packaging, and so forth and so on. So when we aggregate, we share the risks, we share the responsibility, and yes, we expand our good, and of course, we'll be able to transport our goods to the next market. And also we could embrace other sources of finance instead of just looking at loans from the banks, issues related to crowdfunding, or maybe some angel investors or venture capitalists. So in a nutshell, I think this is what I would like to put across. That yes, we need finance, but let's keep asking ourselves, what do we need the funds for? And based on that, we can think around how to get over such an obstacle. Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much, Andrew, Amegashi, for that one. In fact, we wish that we would be able to continue this particular session because it's very much an interesting conversation that we would want to have more of. But knowing assets and knowing the Mastercard Foundation, I'm very much optimistic this is not going to be the last of such sessions. We're obviously going to have many of such sessions happening in the very near future. What you can do for us, that we are taking note of all of the questions that you have put in the comment section in the Q&A session, and appropriately responses would be sent out to the questions that you have asked. A lot has been learned today about AfCFTA, about the agreement, about the area, about, the differences between both, about what the letter and the spirit of this particular agreement means for young entrepreneurs. We've also heard of some of the amazing testimonies of young African entrepreneurs, as well as the challenges that African entrepreneurs, young ones for that matter, face, and, some solutions that we're hoping that will be very practical. Mavis told us earlier that we're here to do and not to talk. And so we're hoping that after this conversation, a lot of action would follow. And so, of course, I'd like to say a very big thank you, obviously, to our speakers, our experts, our panelists for being a part of this session. Before we leave, I would like to introduce Mona Idrisu, who is the head Youth Employment and Skills and Assets, to give us the closing remarks. So Mona, I'm just going to read Mona's bio briefly. She's an international development expert and economist with extensive experience in research, project management, and evidence-based learning across sectors such as youth employment, entrepreneurship, and education. She successfully led teams, built partnerships, and delivered high-quality research projects for clients like CEDA, FCDO, World Bank, and the Mastercard Foundation. Now, as the head of the Youth Employment and Skills team at the African Center for Economic Transformation, Mona oversees projects that help African countries develop new skills for current and future job markets. Ladies and gentlemen, Mona Idrisu.
It's been a truly enlightening and productive session today, and I'd like to thank each and every one of you for your active participation and for speaking with us throughout the session. Today, we came together for this edition of our intergenerational dialogue under the theme of the AfCFTA Unlocked, looking at how we can tap into the opportunities and its implication for youth in entrepreneurship. I would like to start by thanking our youth partners who it would not have been possible without to host this event, including YALDA, YOTA, Leap Africa, Youth Without Borders, Global Shapers Accra, Ekoyaka, and Youth Connect. A special thank you to our sponsors, Mastercard Foundation, who have given us immense support, both in designing and in running our intergenerational dialogue. I would also like to thank all our youth panelists who have given us deep insights into the issues that they're facing in their businesses, and as well as our resource persons So it's been a truly enlightening and productive session today, and I'd like to thank each and every one of you for your active participation and for speaking with us throughout the session. Today, we came together for this edition of our intergenerational dialogue under the theme of the AfCFTA Unlocked, looking at how we can tap into the opportunities and its implication for youth in entrepreneurship. I would like to start by thanking our youth partners who it would not have been possible without to host this event, including YALDA, YOTA, Lead Africa, Youth Without Borders, Global Shapers Accra, Ekoyaka, and Youth Connect. A special thank you to our sponsors, MasterCard Foundation, who have given us immense support, both in designing and in running our intergenerational dialogue. I would also like to thank all our youth panelists who have given us deep insights into the issues that they're facing in their businesses, and as well as our resource persons.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was Mona Idrisu there. And Mona is the head youth employment and skills, African Center for Economic Transformation. And so we just want to say a very big thank you to all of you for being a part of this session today. And we expect that you look forward to the next intergenerational dialogue that's going to be happening in March of 2025. And before I leave, of course, my co-moderator for today, Wilfred, I'm sure has something to share before we go.
Nothing more to add. Karim, it was a great session, insightful. We learned a lot, and I hope that the participants were very satisfied, and that they'll now go on the ground and start trading under the AfCFTA. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, thank you very much, Wilfred, for that one. I think my phone is lagging, but yeah, thank you all so much for being a part of today's session, and we look forward to
Karim, if you are speaking, we are not getting you. So just want to thank you all for attending this session. As Karim mentioned, we will be expecting you to the next dialogue. Have a nice afternoon, everyone. Bye.